Hi, you found Never Enough Time. My name is Brandon, and this is a channel about a lighthearted look at the world of watches. I'm a relatively new enthusiast, a budding enthusiast perhaps, and have been collecting watches over the past couple of years, even though my interest to watches goes back to my days as a child. Today we're taking a look at the Oceaneva Deep Marine Explorer. It's a micro-brand watch that draws heavily on a popular watch design for its own design. We'll take a look at its build quality, its design choices, and then just make a determination. Is this something you'd be interested or not?
So if you ain't got nothing better to do, let's waste some time.
Okay, we're going to take a look at the Oceaneva Deep Marine Explorer. I'll just call it Oceaneva from now on so I don't have to look there or there at my notes. And I usually don't show the packaging of the box, but they do a really good job. There's a couple micro brands that do a good job packaging up their watches. You have a basic cloth, extra links, paraphernalia, but you get a strap changing tool, some extra rubber straps, and then of course the watch itself. So I just thought I'd take a second and show what typically you get when you order a watch from Oceaneva. Now, if we take a look at the build specs, and we'll start there, this is a watch that I think is built very well. So let's take a moment, hop over to their website, and actually take a look at their build specs. Okay, so here we are at the Oceaneva website, and we're taking a look at the red and black variant. They have several different colorways. Right now, they're all sold out on their website. I'm not sure if they will have more of this particular model or not. This watch isn't new. It's been I stumbled onto it about a year ago, and I've had a couple different colorways: the green bezel, and also the blue mother of pearl dial, as a couple others. And I have found the watches to be of solid build quality. So let's just take a quick look here at the specifications. We have BGW 9 luminous hands, and the lumen is good on this watch. The crown and case back are screw down, typical for a dive watch and for water resistance. Although I do love how marketing gets a hold of these things. I'm sure the engineer said, hey, I have a screw down crown and a screw down case back, and the marketing person said, oh yeah? A screw down crown with triple seal crown to ensure 1,000 meter water tightness, integrated case crown guards, and a screw down triple seal to meet 1,000 meter standard. It's a screw down crown and a screw down case back like every other dive watch. Anyway, whatever. Case material, 316L surgical stainless steel. It's a 42 millimeter case, about 15 millimeters thick, 14.8 if you are precise, 22 millimeter on the lug width, anti-reflective dome sapphire crystal. We have a unidirectional rotating bezel, that's 120 clicks. The movement is a Sellita SW201, which is based on or a clone of the ETA 2824. You do have a date function. They do include half links for micro adjustments, which we'll talk about in a minute. And then we have a push button clasp, which is also kind of unique. So that is the Oceaneva from a spec standpoint. Now, what do I think of the watch in terms of its fit and finish and how those specs sort of play out in the build? This watch is excellent in its build quality. When you look at the watch, you have very good finishing on the watch. The bracelet, there's no sharp edges, there's no rough edges. The bracelet is very comfortable. The watch, very solid. This is one of the heavier watches I've worn. The bezel is very solid, good tactile feel, no back play. Markers line up perfectly on the chapter ring. So very solid build there. It's a 1,000 meter water resistance. If you, nobody dives that far down, but I think they're just flexing their muscle a bit and showing off what they could do through their manufacturing process. But it's clearly overkill. The bezel's got a nice sound to it, if that's important to you. Some it isn't. And so across the board, this thing is built well. It looks very sharp. The colors are very nice. Everything is where it should be. I was very impressed by the build quality of this watch. I've had a lot of different micro brands I've tried. This one's very good. Now, they do have a flaw from a design standpoint, the bracelet. I have big wrists. Some say huge wrists.
I'm huge. That's all that matters.
8.5, depending on how much salt I had during the day. But an 8-inch wrist, we'll say. And a lot of times I get concerned when I buy a watch if there'll be enough links on the bracelet or if the leather strap will be long enough. So I typically have to order some longer straps. This one, that was not the problem. In fact, if you have small wrists, that's going to be the problem. With an 8-inch wrist, I took out, let's see, 4 links and put a half one in. So at an 8-inch wrist, there's only 2 links left on one side and 2.5 links left on the other side. So I didn't actually take out a measure to see how small it could go, but my guess is at 6.5, it's probably too big. It's very strange how big this watch was. Also, the clasp has no micro adjustments, so you really have to adjust the bracelet through the links itself. So from a build standpoint, other than the bracelet, I think it's an A, especially from a micro brand. Now, in terms of pricing, $949, this is not a $1,000 watch. If you have been around watches at all for any length of time, you get to $1,000, it's super competitive from established Swiss brands that have every bit this build quality and maybe more, plus the backing of the brand itself. So I think that's pretty steep, and I think that bears out in the market. If we take a look at eBay, we can see that they have brand new Oceanevas out here for $527. That's that mother of pearl. This is a gorgeous watch. $475, $540, $540, $415 for a brand new one. I don't know if that's a popular colorway or not. So you're looking from $400 up to $650. That to me is a fair price range. The further down you get, under $550, the better you're doing in terms of value for money. So I think that's the range you should really be looking at if this watch were to interest you. Now, this watch does more than just take its design cues from a popular watch. We're certainly in homage territory if we're not just a straight homage, meaning if we took the Rolex Sea Dweller, which I believe is what this watch most closely resembles, and I'll do a side-by-side here on the screen for you to show you what I mean. But you see that the markers are the same as the Rolex Sea Dweller. The handset is the same. The case shape is very similar, if not the same. The second hand, like I said, is the same. The lettering obviously is different. It's Oceaneva, not Rolex, but they have 2 lines of lettering under the 12 and 4 lines of lettering above the 6, the exact same as a Rolex. So how you feel about homage watches might play a big factor into how you feel about this watch in particular. And it really puts you at an interesting fork in the road because the build quality on this is so good. The design, the originality of the design, there isn't any. And it's not from a big brand that you would know. So you have to kind of weigh those out in deciding if this watch is for you. I'll say I'm not offended by homage watches. I'm not going to keep an Oceaneva. I think there's a lot of micro brands out there that are working very hard to have their own unique design language, and I prefer to stay with them. The only other thing that I'll mention on this that's interesting is the clasp itself. If you have an Omega Seamaster, especially one from the generation before, say 2000, this is the Omega Seamaster clasp, the exact same one. Push buttons on the side, diver extension in the same place. So it's a Rolex homage until you get to the clasp, then it's a Omega clasp.
Rolex.
Omega.
Beautiful.
That is the down and dirty on the Oceaneva Deep Marine Explorer. Solid build, good quality, a good price if you're under $600, but a design that is the Rolex Sea Dwellers. So you have to make that call. As I get watches like this, I'll always show them to you. Look me up on Instagram at Never Enough Time. Tag me with your watch story, and we'll see you on the next one.